So me being me, wanting to handle the situation in a peaceful manner, and luckily that time she wasn't there at the hospital. My ex, when I say that. So I decided to say, you know what, I'm gonna try to contact her on this number, if this is even her number, and at least make it clear if she's going to be at the hospital, I can come at a different time. So when I call, I don't get a reply back, or I don't get, she doesn't pick up. But I get a response back, however, and the first thing the text message says, I'm here with my man, what's up? Why was that even necessary? Now, does anybody pay attention to this? Just about almost 90% of the time when she has contacted me, she's tried to throw this guy in my face as if it was supposed to mean anything to me. She had tried to volunteer information to me that I wasn't even asking for about her relationship or her situation. I can care less about that. That obviously has no effect on me. It didn't affect me in 2008 when she first brought it to my attention. Why would it affect me 2 years later? Nevertheless, I replied back to her. I said, you know what? I'll speak to you later. So I decided I'm just going to go to the hospital again, and I'm going to push my luck, and hopefully she won't be there. So I get to the hospital, and fortunately both times that I came, she wasn't there. And I went there and I visited her mother, and that was pretty much it. And I know about it. The next day, I guess she figured that I wasn't going to call, so she decided to give me a phone call and tell me, I appreciate you coming through to see my mother, but I would appreciate it if you didn't come or didn't come as often. I said, you know what? Now, before that even happened, she said, I don't want you to come as often or don't come at all because I don't want to feel some kind of way. I said, you know what? At the end of the day, you created the situation. Meanwhile, she was telling me she didn't want to feel some kind of way because of her relationship. But she was the one that created that situation. I said, you're the one that created a little tension between me and homeboy. I didn't make that scenario up. I said, you was the one that contacted me. Out of all of her family members that had my number and were cool with me, not a single one of them bothered to contact me earlier in 2009 when her previous family member passed away, neither when her mother got sick with cancer. Not a single one of them bothered to contact me. Not even the man who set us up together, which I seen about a month before then. So I pretty much concluded it as this. I said, you know what? Fine. You want it that way? Have your mother call me and tell me not to come through anymore. Problem solved. And I hung up the phone. And I called her mother, and her mother said, you know what? For now on, just to keep the peace, just call. And I said, okay, whatever. But I'm thinking to myself, you know what, I'll do you one better. I just simply won't come around or I won't call. And pretty much what she was trying to do was keep me in a situation to make it look like I was a lingering ex that didn't know how to move on, that was still trying to pursue her. And what was funny, out of all these times when she would tell me not to come around, when she would have her boyfriend call me over the phone and run his mouth, and then, you know what's funny was I had a lot of crazy shit happen to me in my life, but that was one of the most useless things that have ever happened to me, was him calling me. That was the most meaningless thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Because this guy had no valid reason to call. And it just looked stupid on his end. Nevertheless, so now June rolls in of 2010, and I pretty much stopped talking to her. I didn't come back to the hospital. That was that. And eventually her mother did pass away, which I'm sorry to hear, but things do happen. Hopefully she's in a better place now. So I get a message on Facebook from my brother, and he says, your ex just sent me a friend request. Now, I don't know how the hell she found me on Facebook, because that's the only way you're going to find my family is if you find me. And not only did she send him a friend request, she sent my sister a friend request as well. And I told them both, I said, listen, just take off your friends list and leave it at that. Now, does anyone see what she was trying to do here? She was trying to look for any reason she could to cause controversy, to have me try to call her up and beef with her over the phone, to look for any type of reason to get some kind of feedback or energy from me. So after they deleted her off of Facebook, I said, you know what? I'm going to alleviate all of her access to me. I'm going to shut it down. I changed my number. I changed my house and my cell phone number, as a matter of fact, and I said, you know, this is going to be a done deal. I'm not going to waste my time responding. 2010, I started becoming more of a more mature adult and being more on some manly type shit. So after that, I haven't heard anything since, and it was quiet for quite some time. 2011 rolls in, same time, a year later, in June. I get a friend request on Facebook by a girl with only one picture up and maybe one or two friends. I look on a profile and it says, it has her information on it, my ex, by the way. And I said, what she really did here was pretty much was try to create a window that she can open up and look inside of whenever she wanted to be able to peek inside of my life and see what it was that I was doing. Now, I never thought I was the type of guy to be stalked, but clearly in this situation I was being stalked. Furthermore, previous to that, a friend of mine, I bumped into him shortly after that and says, you know, you won't believe who I bumped into about a month ago. I said, who's this? Your ex. I says, okay, so what happened? So he tells me how he was off work, or pretty much on his lunch break at work one time, just having his lunch, and she pretty much scouted him out and approaches him and had to remind him or re-enlighten him on who she was, because he didn't even know who the hell she was, because he met her a few times and he probably hadn't seen her until like 5 years prior to that. So nevertheless, she now goes as far to say, well, me and Quasi are done. We've been done for X amount of years. My life is great without him. He's been stressing me and he was causing me grief, or whatever she went to say. This individual went out of her way to talk shit about me to a relative, or not even to a relative, to a friend of mine that wasn't even an associate of hers, that went out of her way to badmouth me and talk about how great her lifestyle was. But then again, by the way, here's a reminder, or pay attention to what I said earlier in this series of these videos. But do you have $20 I can borrow? And from what he told me, he didn't give her the money. You remember in 2008, the day after Christmas, I told you how she had asked me to borrow $20. Wow. For someone whose life is so great. So you know what I find when I conclude this as, is for when people can say that it's easier to just walk away from a woman, in some cases when you do this, it really isn't that simple. And I would consider this just a milestone. There's guys that have gone through all kinds of crazy shit with a woman, where a woman has stalked them, where women have keyed up their cars, where women will open up police cases against them when the men decide that they don't want to deal with the women like that. It's even to a point where if you're a police officer and you're dealing with a woman and she knows your job, that's another reason why a lot of police officers won't tell a woman that they're dating right away what they do for a living. Because all it takes is for this woman to go to the precinct and make a complaint against you, and you are getting suspended before your case is even proven. And usually there's nothing you can do against her. They can't even pull out a restraining order against her, because if she opens up a case against you, you're getting suspended. So pretty much the women have the men at the balls. So when they say it's easier in some cases to just simply walk away from a woman, in some cases it's not necessarily true. And now maybe I'm starting to wonder, or I've been wondering for a long time about this now, maybe now I can understand why, or I'm starting to see it just a bit differently when I hear scenarios of women getting the shit kicked out of their asses behind doing spiteful shit to men. In some cases, they were innocent in the first place, but then you got cases where they're doing the same spiteful, vindictive nonsense that this same individual was doing to me, but in a lot of cases, far greater and far worse. And like I said, for any dude that fits the description of being this type of Captain Save-A-Ho, walking around with the S on your chest, or you got your cape in your closet or underneath your blazer or your jacket, you need to really reconsider what you're doing, because there's too many men out here that are putting themselves in dangerous situations, all for the sole fact of being able to impress a woman. And at the end of the day, it's not worth it, trust me, to get into a confrontation. There's no reason for two men to be beefing with one another. Men are supposed to be the one that set the standards, and for far too long, there have been too many men that have not been setting the standards. And this especially goes on with black men. There's not a reason in the world for a man to allow his woman to lead him into a dangerous situation blindfolded. There's never a reason in the world for no man to get on the phone and call somebody to talk shit. If it's to a point where you gotta call somebody, you might as well get to the bottom of what the fuck is going on and ask him what the hell is going on, rather than running off at the mouth talking shit. But then again, think about this. If it's to a point where you gotta go through your woman's phone and contact other people to see what she's doing, that's a problem. Ask yourself, is that someone that you want to deal with in the first place? But far too many men are doing this. Now, I'm going to briefly talk about one other situation where one of my co-workers told me that he knew a friend And he said he was walking down the block one time, but I think the story made the news. It was in Parkchester, the Bronx. A guy was walking with a girl, and he was trying to impress her. So he sees a dude walking along the side, I guess coming the opposite way of each other. So now this dude stares him down. This is the guy that's with his girl now. He stares the opposite guy down and makes a flex as if he's going to reach in his back pocket and grab himself a burner and start spraying up the place. He had not a single gun on him, but now the guy that he was trying to intimidate just so happened to have 2 guns. And he pulls one out, or pulls both of them out, and the guy puts his hand up, oh, I'm just joking, blow, shoots his hand off. The dude takes off running, and this guy shoots him in his back and stands on top of him, lighting him up with both guns. Now, this is from what I heard. And all of this behind what? To impress a woman? You see, what I've realized, the best way that you can actually impress a woman is by being yourself. It's by being on some mature adult shit. It's not by simping. It's not by splurging on women unconditionally. It's not by giving women unnecessary treatment, even women that you don't even know. That doesn't impress them. As a matter of fact, it only leaves them a greater level of a disrespect towards us. And that's another reason why we have some of the problems that we have. And another reason why women, in so many different ways and levels, don't take a lot of men seriously. Like I said, they always say it's easier to just walk away. And as much as I would love to be able to support that 100%, I would say I'm somewhere 50-50 on that, because being in a situation similar to that, I was able to do that. But more than 2 years later, the shit was still going on. And I still don't even know if there's something going on to this day, which I don't entertain anymore, but it just goes to furthermore show that you never know what the fuck can happen and how far some of these spiteful, vindictive, evil, manipulative women are willing to go just to keep you in their life. They can't even stand the fact that you are simply willing to walk away from them without giving them no type of grief, holding no type of animosity against them, or having nothing furthermore to do with them. I'm sorry that this video went on as long as it did, but I just had to get these points across. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you realize my channel is in the defense of those who think logic and those who make sense. This is HKABID TV.